All right, guys, welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today we're going to be breaking down the 2021 Georgia Bulldogs and jumping right into things. We're going to start with this offense. It was a new-look unit for Todd Monken with JT Daniels under center. They averaged 486 yards and 37.2 points per game in those 4 games with Daniels under center. Daniels is the real deal. He transferred from USC, battling back from a bad leg injury. He didn't see the field till late in the year, unfortunately. They struggled with Stetson Bennett under center. I feel like their season would have played out a little different if they had against Florida and Alabama. In those losses, if they had Daniels under center. So this year, you're going to see his full talents on display. Hopefully he can stay healthy throughout the year. What I like about Daniels, his football IQ, he's pinpoint. This guy was taking 11 high school courses his final year, so he could graduate early. This guy's incredibly intelligent, very smart, hard worker. Translates to the football field, though. He can read the defense. Picks up playbooks fast. He can coach other guys. Gotta love that about a kid. Very elusive in the pocket too. At times he'll take sacks. He's not exactly a dual threat, I guess you could say. He's not going to get out the pocket and make plays with his legs, but he's elusive inside the pocket, and that's always something you want to have. Can keep his eyes downfield as well while he's avoiding sacks. So, good anticipation as well. Georgia's never really had a quarterback who has this much anticipation on his throws. The NFL type arm talent, it transfers over on the football field. It's not just a trait. He seriously has great arm talent, throws a good zip and accuracy. Those are some of the things that stood out last year. He stood out at USC as well. He was a freshman there, so he wasn't great, but he was above average, I'd say, during his tenure with the Trojans. Very high temp offense. Completed 67% of his passes, over 1,200 yards, 10 scores to 2 picks in those 4 aforementioned games. The balance Georgia has, though, with Daniels under center is pretty scary, because they've always been able to run the ball very well. Having this quarterback under center now, it's going to make it very difficult for teams. They ran for 300-plus twice in those games, and twice in 2 of those 4 games. The extra dimension of the offense was just nasty. Georgia actually last year averaged 174 yards and 4.6 yards per carry. It's actually the lowest in the Kirby Smart era. They had 100-plus in all but 2 games. 8 against Mississippi State, 45 versus Cincinnati. Those were in those games Daniels played in, so if they didn't have the ball moving on the ground, they would be able to throw it with ease. So those were the 2 games. And then the other games they had 300-plus in, so it was kind of strange. They were very great or, pretty sluggish. But still an extra dimension that they have. Georgia's running game is never a concern. You look at who they have in the backfield as well. Zamir White is back. Zeus is like the calm, explosive runner. He's also mainly a power back. He's pretty explosive in the open field, though. He doesn't have exactly breakaway speed, but he's above average in that area as well. Very explosive, very impressive running back. Behind him, though, James Cook. I think this guy, he needs to get involved more on offense. That's a must. He was very impactful last season as a runner and a pass catcher. He averaged 8.7 yards per play on the 61 touches. They need to get him the ball more often, really. I think you need to see him get at least 10 to 12 touches a game, whatever capacity that may be, at least 10 to 12. The kid is a very special player, the brother of Dalvin Cook. Very explosive, the dual threat prowess of his game. Very good ball player. They need to find ways to get him involved. It doesn't end there. Go Kendall Milton and Kenny McIntosh. These guys are pretty deep at running back. They always have been. You're not going to see a lot of these guys, but they can provide good things. If one of those guys comes out for a couple plays, they need some good runs. Those guys will provide it for them. So they will step up with ease. The offensive line, Jameer Slayer, he's one of the nation's most underrated tackles. He's one of the best in the game. He can also play guard as well. Slayer, former highly touted recruit, has transferred over. He's a senior. Fellow final year man in Justin Schaefer is at left guard. That's the left side. The right side, it's a little young, but they've recruited very well in the offensive line. Amarius Mims, 6'7", 330, a massive player, former top 10 recruit incoming. Micah Morris as well, a top 70 recruit. And then Broderick Jones, another 5-star recruit. So these guys are incredibly talented on the offensive line. Inexperience, obviously, is going to be a bit of a concern. But these guys will eventually get in. They're going to make plays, too, So it's going to be interesting to see what Kirby does to get them involved. If it's going to be early, mid-season, late. I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what to expect from that. It's going to be up to the guys who are on the right side to play well. And if they don't, then they have the talent that's going to slide right in there. So they might not have that long of a leash on that right side, but regardless, they're pretty set at offensive line. No concerns. The best part of this offense, though, they are very deep at pass catcher when healthy. But the health is very uncertain. We're not sure who's going to be there for week 1 versus Clemson. Very beat up. But when healthy, we'll jump right into it, though. George Pickens, he's one of the nation's most talented pass catchers, in my opinion. He ended the year 100-plus yard games in back-to-back. It was his second and third career 100-plus yard games. He absolutely shined with Daniels. Over the Final Four, he had those two aforementioned 100-plussers. He also had 87 yards and 8 grabs in the first game with JT. He had a long touchdown as well. These guys, I feel like Pickens would win the Blitnikoff if he's fully healthy for the year. Him and Daniels are a special connection. I think they would be incredible together, an elite pairing for sure. Kyrus Jackson, though, he was very good early in the year himself. Didn't have the same chemistry with JT as he did with Stetson Bennett, though. He ended the year tied, regardless, he ended the year tied for the team high receptions at 36, while George had 515 yards. That was one more than him for the team high. I think it's reverse, actually. I think Jackson had 515, but those guys were the top two pass catchers for the Bulldogs. Jackson hit a 150-yarder against Auburn in Week 2 with Bennett, and it just seemed like he was always the guy who made plays when Bennett was under center. He was always there on third down, across the middle of the field making plays. So Jackson, he's a reliable guy. I think him and JT with some more work, I think that they can have some of the same chemistry, but he's proven he can be a reliable pass catcher. Jermaine Burton averaged nearly 15 yards a grab as a freshman last season. He's a player I really like. He was also open a lot, too, made some good plays for being as young as he is. You look at tight end, Georgia is absolutely loaded. Darnell Washington, Eric Gilbert. These guys were both very high-ranked 5 stars out of high school in the same class. Gilbert comes over from LSU. Both of these guys are also not likely to play against Clemson, so again, more lack of depth. They don't lack depth, rather, but you want to have your most talented guys out there. You play a team like Clemson, and I also want to see these guys out on the field and see how they perform in this Monken offense. I think they're going to be great. I hope they can get healthy, maximize the potential a little bit. Darnell Washington, an athletic freak for his size, 6'7", 260. Now, he only had 2 catches on the year until the end of the year. He had 5 catches for 107 yards over the final 2 games. Again, with JT Daniels, he finally saw the field. Eric Gilbert, he's one of the most talented tight ends a lot of people have ever seen. He has the potential to be one of the best at his position in college football ever. And, I think 24/7 Sports said that. So they're incredibly talented at receiver, not just tight end, all around. Really love what this offense brings to the table. I think they're going to be really good this year if they can, stay healthy. All around, so much to like about this offense with JT Daniels. He is the real deal, though. Moving to this stellar Georgia defense, this front 7 is one of the nation's best. It's just insane how much they have. They've fielded the top-ranked rush defense in each of the past 2 seasons, and getting back defensive tackles Jordan Davis and Devontae Wyatt, it's going to go a long way in making it 3 straight years. Davis is a bull rusher up the middle. He's just a complete massive game record, just a beast, really. You can double team him if you want, but he's still probably going to get past people. Just a massive player. Devontae Wyatt as well. He's big. I think he's 6'3", 315 pounds. He's not just a gap clogger, though. He can get to the backfield himself. So very impressive interior tackles for Georgia. Again, though, that's not the only part of this front 7. They have really impressive edge rushers and linebackers. Adam Anderson, he's expected to emerge as the team's next star pass rusher. They get back leading tackler Nakobe Dean. This guy is a phenomenal run stopper. And again, Anderson coming off the edge, a big breakout star. He made some good plays last season. He's going to get a full-time run, hopefully, off the edge. As a former 5-star, he can finally blossom in his final year. Quay Walker, Nolan Smith, other guys that were also highly recruited out of high school. The talent doesn't stop. Veterans as well, getting back experience on this Georgia defense. Just a little bit, though. I think they rank towards the bottom of the conference in returning production defensively, but these guys are just going to reload with ease. Love what they have in the front 7. And I think, I think they're probably going to be easily among top 3, top 5 in rush defense. I won't go ahead and say it's a given they'll be number 1 because that's just a tough feat to accomplish. But these guys are incredibly difficult to move the ball against on the ground. It's not going to get any easier through the air, though. Their secondary has some question marks, and they lost 4 key players of last year's unit. They should reload, though, regardless. The only returning starter, the ultra-physical Lewis Sign as safety. He's really good at tackling, which allows him to thrive as a run defender. A lot to like about him, a hard hitter. Sign's a really good player. As he continues to mature, though, get some penalties down, he's going to be a really good ball player for the Bulldogs this season. I'm going to introduce you to the rest of the names, though, that will be joining him. Tyke Smith. He's not expected to play against Clemson due to an injury, but he is among the nation's top slot corners. That's at least when he was at West Virginia. That should continue to carry over, though. The instincts, the coverage ability. He should even only get better at Georgia. Physical playmaker. He's going to do elite things in this defense. Freshman Nyland Green and Keely Ringo, they're incredibly talented. They will be thrust into action early this season, but the addition of Clemson transfer Darian Kendrick, it should help alleviate any pressure off the young men. Those guys, I'm not sure if they're going to be in the lineup week one, but I'm sure they're going to see plenty of reps, though. They're eventually, I think, both going to be, towards the end of the year, I think they're both going to be playing very key roles in this defense. I have Amir Speed, though, opposite side of Kendrick, at least for early in the season. He has some game reps. He's a senior, should have the edge, at least early in the year. He's battling first and second year freshman for that spot, so Speed should get the edge there. But, that spot is certainly up for grabs. Latavius Briney, he provides great versatility in the back end. He's going to be, he's likely going to start the year in the slot with Smith not healthy. He can also provide, he's also an asset at safety and just regular corner as well. A lot to like about Latavius Briney. Christopher Smith, another one of those guys. He's a sure-handed, hard-hitting tackler. He got some, when Richard LeCount went down, he was the one who filled in for him. And he got some very valuable game reps over the back half of last season. So safety there is straight. At corner, though, very inexperienced. And, of course, Kendrick, he's new on campus. But I don't have any issues with Georgia's secondary. If anyone really makes it out to be a big deal, it really isn't that big of a deal. I think Georgia is absolutely fine in the secondary. And, mixing that with this front seven, these guys are going to be among the nation's top 3 to 5 defenses. These guys are going to be so good, I can't really put it into words. Looking at the Bulldogs' schedule, it's really not that tough of one. They open up the year in Charlotte versus Clemson. It's going to be a big game. It's going to give the winner a head start in the college football playoff race. The game preview will be coming out for that soon. This is going to be a great game. I feel like, neither of these teams really have great strength of schedule the rest of the year, so that even makes it even more important. Week 2, they host UAB. UAB's not a bad team, though. They play really tough defense. Probably the favorite in the CUSA. Very good defense. They have a very impressive offensive line as well, so that's going to be a good challenge for them in that program to get, ready for the season. They're going to learn a lot in that game. UAB is. I don't think they're going to. I think they can maybe keep it close for a half, but Georgia should win this game with ease. But UAB, though, not a bad football team whatsoever. Week 3 versus South Carolina, rebuilding year with Shane Beamer. South Carolina's defensive line, though, highly impressive. Edge rushers, Kingsley. You got Jordan Strawn. Aaron Sterling as well. These guys are really good. South Carolina's defensive line is going to cause some real problems for people, and it could cause problems for Georgia. You never know. South Carolina doesn't have a great offense, though. Luke Dottie, he's only started a couple of games. He's going to be the quarterback for South Carolina. They do have some good running backs, like Kevin Harris, Marshawn Lloyd. So I'm not exactly calling this a cakewalk. I think playing at home, it's going to be easier for Georgia. But, we've seen what happens in the past. South Carolina, this shouldn't be a contest. Georgia should win this by a couple of scores. But South Carolina has some very impressive parts of their roster that could cause problems for people. At Vanderbilt's next, we're not even going to discuss it. It's going to be an easy walk in Nashville. Vanderbilt, though, they do have some impressive wide receivers. So it's going to get, it's going to be a learning experience for the secondary, the 4th game of the year against Vanderbilt. Some solid receivers. It's going to, it's not. It's good. They're going to learn stuff. It's going to be a valuable game despite the score. It's probably going to be 42-10 or something like that. They host Arkansas. Sam Pittman the next week. A lot of people expect a lot of things out of Arkansas. KJ Jefferson, Grant Morgan on defense at linebacker. These guys are really good. Or I think they're going to be really good. The record prediction doesn't exactly say, but I love what Sam Pittman's doing at Arkansas. I think these guys are going to be really good down the road. But again, should be no problem for Georgia whatsoever. October 9th at Auburn. That can always be tricky going to Jordan Hare playing Bo Nix. Bo Nix is not, my favorite quarterback. He's got a lot of talent, but he doesn't make the decisions that can lead the winning football. The defense, though, Auburn, they're incredibly stacked at linebacker. Zacoby McClain leading the way. They also have a phenomenal secondary. Dreshaun Miller comes over from WVU. Roger McGarry. Smoke Monday. These guys are incredibly deep at secondary, like what Auburn has. So this could be a really tricky game. I'm not sure if it will be a ranked matchup, but Auburn's certainly going to provide a threat for the Bulldogs. That's not a cakewalk whatsoever. The next week they host Kentucky. Kentucky's just not been able to move the ball whatsoever against Georgia. Their bread and butter is to run the ball, and Georgia's bread and butter is to stop people from running the ball. So it's a tough matchup for Kentucky because they just cannot get above average quarterback play whatsoever. Maybe Will Levis can provide that. But regardless, these guys are going to shut down Kentucky. Another game that they should win. Versus Florida, they get the bye week, and then they go to Jacksonville to meet the Gators in a game. Over the last couple of years, it's been a top 10 ranked matchup. Came with a lot. The winner of this game goes on to win the East typically, and I think you'll see that happen again against Emory Jones. A very good front seven Florida has as well. Ventrell Miller, Brenton Cox, Zachary Carter. These guys are really good on defense. Well, I think they're going to be really good. They weren't last year. They get those guys back in the front seven, Kiari alum. They also have they have an abundance of freshmen coming in on the secondary, Jason Hill being one of them. I think they're going to make an impact. Florida's defense is going to be much better. Very excited to see what Emory Jones does this season. So, Florida-Georgia game, anything can happen. So, that's Florida against Florida. That's a big contest. They can't afford to drop that one. I don't even if they lose the Clemson, they definitely can't afford to if they beat them. Still, the strength of the schedule isn't great. Playing Clemson week one, it's better. You'd rather play them at the end of the year so you can make a statement. But this is a game Georgia has to have versus Missouri. Connor Blaslick, Tyler Beatty. These guys got some weapons on offense. Defense, I think they're going to make some improvements. Devin Nicholson, Marquez Manuel. These guys are pretty solid defensively. Missouri, I have them at 8-4. They don't play a very difficult schedule themselves. Eli Drinkowitz, I think he's going to start. I think they're going to have some really big improvements. Blaslick himself, I think he's going to have a breakout year. Missouri last year got torched, 600-plus yards. Georgia had on them, 300-plus rushing. They almost had 300 passing as well. So they got to figure out that monster offense if they want to beat they want to beat the Bulldogs. That was at home. They will come to Athens this year. So it's kind of hard to not expect the same. But November 6th, it's not going to be. I don't expect it to be an easy contest. I think they'll be better than they were last year. But seeing what you saw, they're going to have to make big improvements if they want to take down the Dogs. At Tennessee. Hendon Hooker comes over. Tennessee has a lot of uncertainty with Jeremy Pruitt's firing and all that. The fallout is still happening and will continue to happen for the next couple of years. Josh Heupel comes over. Velus Jones, Hooker, as we mentioned. That's really it. Tennessee doesn't have a lot to look forward to. Cade Mays, though, Darnell Wright, they have a solid offensive line, but Tennessee, I don't expect them to challenge the Bulldogs whatsoever. And then they round off the year with Charleston Southern and Georgia Tech. Jahmyr Gibbs, Jeff Sims. I like what Georgia Tech has. They're going to continue to make great improvements, but they're not going to show them against the Bulldogs. It's going to be too much to overcome. So that's Georgia's schedule. That's the overall preview of the Bulldogs. Very excited to see what this team does in 2021. I think this is probably their best chance to win a national championship under Kirby Smart due to the fact that they have a quarterback that can provide lethal passing attack, which will allow them to have balance that I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to stop. So we've been waiting to see that from Georgia, and I think this is the year we're going to be able to see a legit balanced attack that actually can hurt you in both aspects of the game. So that's the Bulldogs. Make sure you like, subscribe, check this out. Comment your record prediction for the Bulldogs. Catch you next time.